Well, welcome back to Happy Hour with Heather and Guest, episode number 4 with Heather. It's good to have you back on the program, on your program, I should say.
Yes, it's good to be here.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a privilege to carry the ammo. That's what I always say as you man the machine gun in the Death Wish 3 poster that has become one of the emblems of our show.
Yes.
And today, Heather and I are going to discuss a couple of things. We're going to start off with the music of a band called Cavern Deep. Who are from Sweden, I believe. Yes, from Umeå, Sweden. That's Umea. I have no idea where that is within the realm of Sweden. I just know it's in that country. And I don't believe we've had a band from Sweden on this show before. So we're breaking new ground. Is that I would imagine that I'm correct?
I believe you're correct, yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so Cavern Deep, this is a debut album from a band who I think it's a concept album. I think the band sort of came together. Most of the musicians had been in previous bands. I remember I discovered them because I had seen an Instagram post, and it reminded me of, and you had mentioned Anthrax as one of the bands that we talked about last episode. I remember, I think it was Scott Ian from Anthrax was being interviewed, and he said the first time he saw an Iron Maiden LP and he saw Eddie, the mascot of Iron Maiden, and he thought, okay, that's what the music is supposed to look like. You know, the creature of Eddie. And I remember thinking when I was scrolling through the Cavern Deep site, before they'd even, I think, recorded the music or put any of the music out, this was sort of like a teaser for what to expect. But I remember hearing the music in the background as the guitarist and singer played. And I remember thinking to myself, this is going to be something I'm looking forward to being involved with, even just as a fan, because this is what it's supposed to sound like. And if you get the chance, the lead singer and guitarist, I'm blanking on his real name, but on Instagram, he goes under the handle Doom Capitan. And he's got a pretty epic beard. He smokes a pipe, and he looks like one of the characters who I picture going on this ship in the Cavern Deep album. So I feel like I've given enough of an introduction, and I will stop talking. And I can just jump right. Do you want to jump right in and talk about the first track, or should I?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay. So the first track off of Cavern Deep's debut album is called Staring Down. And my notes are setting off on a voyage into the briny deep. That was sort of the opening of the song. I felt like, okay, this is the beginning of a voyage. I also felt like it was sort of Black Hole Sun-esque. In a way, it reminded me of Soundgarden, especially that song Black Hole Sun. I thought the singer had a unique vocal delivery, and I felt like I wasn't going to confuse him with other lead singers. I felt like, okay, this is pretty much what they have going on. This is the Cavern Deep sound. And then I wrote a taste of what's in store as it continues to get heavier. So the song keeps descending into a more distorted feel. And then I also wrote it was a little progressive with regard to the different tempo changes.
Yeah, I love the opening with the instruments, and then the vocals start, and it's very melodic, and I really do like his vocal style.
Yeah, it's sort of hard. I mean, it is unique, so it's kind of hard to compare it, but I would say that it's much more on the operatic side. I mean, I don't want to compare it to Lane Staley from Alice in Chains, but that's the kind of like how he had a unique vocal delivery that wasn't, like Rob Halford, for example. It wasn't this sort of piercing type of thing where he's hitting the high notes. I felt like this singer is sort of that same ilk.
Yes.
I'm glad that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Okay, well, I'm glad you're enjoying it so far. Staring Down, I think we both liked. Moving on to track 2, Abandoned Quarters. We're still keeping with the theme of setting off into a voyage out into the briny deep. I just like saying briny deep. And this one starts out with some organ, which I thought was a good touch. And I wrote, it's the first taste of Melvin's. This was, and I interviewed the lead singer, guitarist of the band a couple of months ago, and I remember telling him that I felt like the album had a Melvin's sort of feel to it with regard to the tone. And I think he said that he had been listening to a lot of Melvin's while they were creating the album. So I think there's probably a link there. But I said first taste of Melvin's, and then I wrote haunting and melodic. So Abandoned Quarters had organ, first taste of Melvin's, and was haunting and melodic.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of opera as the octaves get higher. This would be a great introduction to Doom for someone who is not familiar with Doom. And definitely for someone that doesn't know, this genre, I think this music would, it's more, it's not as in your face as some other Doom music. So I think this would be more palatable for someone that's just getting into it.
I would agree with you. It's got a lot of the hallmarks of Doom, but it also is not quite the, just the traditional Doom building blocks. So it would be a great segue. It would be sort of a gateway drug, if you will. That might not be the best way to put it, but that's what came to mind. So if you're looking for a gateway into Doom, then Cavern Deep's first album. Moving on to song 3, Ominous Gardens. I also like the names of the tracks on this album. Ominous Gardens, I wrote, it lures you in. So it starts out, where you don't realize you're sort of walking into a song that's going to be, all encompassing like a trap. But I said it lures you in and it's melodic.
Yeah, I thought this one was more melodic as well. It has a build up and then the guitars come in and it gets stronger and then it goes back to being softer again. So the song, how the song is structured is very nice.
I just realized that I'd probably fail my old intro to music class if we were asked to describe the songs we were listening to, and I said it lures you in, it's melodic. But I'm glad that I'm not taking a music class anymore, that we can just sort of talk about, I can use terms like Black Hole Sun-esque and Melvins-ish. And,
And
that
trippy bluesy and
trippy
witchy.
bluesy. Yeah. I'm just creating an entire lexicon that will hopefully become mainstream. Okay, so the next track is called Waterways. This is the first single. So before they released the entire album, they would release a new single a week. And I remember this is the first single that I remember being released from the album. So I had heard this one before. This was the one that stuck out the most in terms of when I heard it, it brought me back to when I had first heard the song a couple of months ago. I think it's the most operatic of the songs on the album. Excuse me, and that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, this song really showcases the range in his voice. He's got, it's not something that is extremely noticeable, but he has quite a range in his singing voice. The guitars are very low. To me, it's like a representation of the deep ocean. Then it becomes hymnal, and to me, it almost seems like it's a song of praise.
I would certainly agree with all of that. Yeah, he's got a great register and a great range. And hymnal is a perfect description for that song, Waterways. Which then, if we're keeping with this sort of quasi-religious overtones and, the briny deep, the next track is called Leap of Faith, which I felt like it continued the same vibe of the previous song. I said another Melvins type jam where the tone and the sound of the chords and the guitar playing I felt really was of the Melvins kind of style. But I felt like, again, they make it their own with the vocals as well. So that's my take on Leap of Faith. But again, we're staying with this sort of concept of the entire album being sort of this, deep sea voyage into the depths type thing.
Yeah, this song has a really cool bass line. It's one of the shorter songs on the album. And I like the song title, Leap of Faith, because the whole concept of it is, do you take that leap?
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of sort of questions that get asked on this album with regard to, do you take the leap of faith? Do you go onto the waterways and the ominous gardens? Do you check the abandoned quarters? But Deeper Grounds was the next track in continuing sort of with the concept. This was the other single that I remembered. This one was, I wrote, the most Melvins-ish. So if you're looking for the most Melvins-inspired track on this album, I would say it's probably Deeper Grounds. And I love Melvins, so this is like right in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, this song, his voice sounds like it's coming from somewhere far away. And it feels like you're stuck in quicksand and you're trying to get out. It's thick and heavy.
Yeah, thick and heavy is a great description for this song, but also the album. But melodic too, thick, heavy, melodic. Yeah, there's nothing else I can say. You've said it all. The next track, Fungal Realm. This was the third single that I remembered. And I wrote, this was the other most Melvin-ish song. I liked how they went with a loud, quiet, loud formula. um, which I think is sort of a reverse. I remember the Pixies formula was, I think, Quiet, Loud, Quiet, which then Nirvana sort of, when they wrote Smells Like Teen Spirit, they were basically trying to write a Pixie song of, Quiet, Loud, Quiet, which I think I'm contractually obligated to work in one reference that has no bearing on what we're talking about. So, but then I also said Fungal Realm was operatic. Again, going back to that sort of opera theme.
Yeah, I love the title to this song. It sounds like a submarine in the water. It sounds really cool, and I really want these guys to teach me how to play the guitar. I just love the sounds that they make. It's I've never heard, and it's unique. It's very, very unique, and that's one of the things I really like about it too.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you. It's a unique sound. What they're doing is original in terms of what they're able, the combination of all the elements. It's pulling from influences from the doom genre, but they're sort of making it all their own. They're putting their own stamp on it, which is great. And that brings us to the final track, The Dark Place, which I wrote was, again, macabre and operatic. And then I wrote, it feels like the end of a quest. Like that song would appear at like the end of the Lord of the Rings, when they had defeated the villain or solved the riddle or done whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's a great way to close things out. It's sort of, I felt like, okay, this is the ending. This is not, this is a bookend to the first track, Staring Down, where I felt like you're setting off on a voyage. And then The Dark Place sort of closes things out well.
They reference Cavern Deep in the lyrics in this song. I love it when bands do that. When they reference, their names in their songs. This song sounded more emotional to me. More emotion was conveyed, and again, great. Like you mentioned before, the song titles are just great, and I really like this song title too, and it kind of sums up what the whole concept is about.
I would agree with you. One of the great things about doing this show so far, through 4 episodes, is that I really feel like the music that we've listened to is stuff that we both truly enjoy, and have enjoyed all the albums. So I would heartily recommend people pick up Cavern Deep's debut album, which is available. But as Heather had said before, if you're looking for a good segue into doom, then this is a great album. And if you're looking for really unique music, I would say definitely check out this album.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely an album to check out. It's self-titled, and on their Bandcamp page, they kind of go through. There's a couple of paragraphs written where it kind of suggests what the album is about and what the concept is for the album. And I noticed too that they have on YouTube, they have the whole album and with video, with the concept videos, because they kind of did a video for each song. And I noticed that they put the whole album is up on YouTube, and that's definitely something to check out too.
Definitely. Go hit pause, go check it out, so that, or well, hopefully you would have watched it already, so that you would have a better idea of what we've just spoken about. But if you haven't, now would be a good time to hit pause and go check out these videos. And that's going to segue us into the next section where we had talked about music while we were driving. Music that was sort of, I guess, in the background or important, or that we'd had on the radio or in a CD or tape player. I had two songs, I think, that I had recommended. The first one, so within the last couple of years, when I've been driving with my mom, if she's, I'll be in the passenger seat, she'll be driving. And occasionally I'll suggest we listen to Ozzy's Boneyard, which is on Sirius Radio. But lately we do something called The Bridge, which is much more of her speed than Ozzy's Boneyard. Although to her credit, she's always been open to listening to Ozzy's Boneyard. But either way, they frequently have the same songs on rotation. So there are always musicians that we talk about. Oh yeah, this is category A, the musician that appears the most, versus all the way B, C, D. And one of the musicians that's always on is Fleetwood Mac. And I believe the song that I had suggested was Go Your Own Way. But the greatest thing is I would ask Mom, do you know how the band Fleetwood Mac got their name? And obviously in the beginning she had no idea. And then I would tell her that when the band was created, the guitarist was a guy named Peter Green, and he named the band after his two friends and bandmates, Mick Fleetwood and John McVie. That's where he got the Mac from, McVie. And it took maybe 4 or 5 times of listening and me regurgitating these facts before it became muscle memory. And she was just like, yeah, Fleetwood Mac, Mick Fleetwood and John McVie. So it's a good song too. I think Fleetwood Mac is one of those bands that I think tends to become a punchline ever so often for some of their stuff, but the bulk of their catalog I would stand behind. That if you're not someone who's familiar with their music, you should definitely go out and pick up at least their greatest hits.
Yeah, I don't know. They seem like one of those bands that's kind of universally liked by people. I know, people might dunk on them, but I think they're a band that's universally liked. And they've had their ups and downs for sure. And this song is, represents some of their ups and downs. The song is the breakup song, I think. Yeah. The breakup anthem, but some people like the old Fleetwood Mac, where it's Christine McVie is the vocalist. I personally like when Stevie Nicks came on, and I like the contributions that she made, and everyone has their own opinions on that. But, they put out a lot of great music, and they have a lot of albums. And, this song, I think, is one of the songs that's probably one of their best songs that they've put out.
I would agree. I'll throw in the other song choice I had very quickly was called You Enjoy Myself by the band Phish. And I think this one was from, I may have been in high school, and my parents had a CD changer in the car. So I remember that was the one CD that I felt I had at the time. This was sort of before I had gotten into metal. And at the time, I think Phish was I was spreading my wings a little bit and seeing what was out there, and they were pretty big. This was in the 90s. So I hung out with a lot of kids that were Phish heads. And I remember I got into their album Junta or Junta. I don't really know how it's pronounced, but You Enjoy Myself. The reason I brought it up is that there's a line that I think the singer says something like, wash you freezy and drive me to Firenze, but it sounds like he's saying wash your feet and drive me to Firenze or Florence or something. So the other day when I had mentioned it, I had mentioned the band Phish to my mom, and she said, "Is that the Wash Your Feet and Drive Me song?" So I realized that if she can remember Wash Your Feet and Drive Me, that song had an important place in my childhood, in my adolescence. So I wanted to include that just because she remembered the Wash Your Feet and Drive Me to Florence. But
I never listened to Phish. I've never heard this song, but I did listen to it, and it's kind of got groovy, funky thing going on.
Yeah, if you're not, so Phish, they're still incredibly popular, but for a while they were going to be like the next Grateful Dead type band, like a sort of a jam band, like a jazzy jam band type thing, where Deadheads, if they needed a new, obviously once Jerry Garcia died, they needed a new thing. So Phish, I think, was supposed to sort of take their place. So I always knew of them as like a, kind of like a Grateful Dead-esque type thing with followers and jam, songs where they 25-minute long jams and stuff like that.
Yeah. And mine is so when I was younger, I used to be pretty wild. Well, I still am, but life has knocked me down, quite a bit. So I'm not as wild as I used to be. But yeah, so the song I picked is W.A.S.P. I Don't Need No Doctor. And it just, I remember that, I live in a rural area. There's not much to do around here. So we would get into cars and drive around and try to find parties to go to, because back then every weekend there was a party somewhere. So the guy I was with, he had this Mustang, and I just remember playing W.A.S.P. in the Mustang, and this car was so powerful that when he gunned it, it would literally knock you back into the seat. And just driving fast and listening to W.A.S.P. And and I don't know if a lot of people, I don't know if a lot of people really got into W.A.S.P, but they're like a great hair band. Chris Holmes is notorious. He was married to Lita Ford for a little while. And I don't know if you remember the movie, The Decline of Western Civilization.
Yeah, he's the guy in the pool, right?
Yeah.
He basically chugs a thing of vodka.
Like 3 bottles of vodka. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I never, the only thing I sort of know about W.A.S.P. Was the notoriety behind that scene where he's in the pool, and I think his mother's sitting poolside as he's drinking and talking about music. And then I know the singer, was his name Blackie Lawless, I think.
Yeah.
I remember there was like a cod piece. He wore like a cod piece that had gotten under scrutiny, for being too provocative. So I don't really know much about their music. I just know more about like what they got in trouble for.
Yeah. So one of those bands that, if you're a little on the bad side, it's one of those bad boy bands to enjoy.
Sure. Well, now I feel like I have to go back and actually listen to the music, rather than just to know the folklore behind the band.
Yeah. And their music holds up. I'm glad. Blackie Lawless has a really cool voice. And
Yeah, well, I will have to check it out. And as should all of you out there, if you're not familiar with W.A.S.P. I would say if you're not familiar with Phish or Fleetwood Mac, you should check them out as well. But most importantly, pick up Cavern Deep by Cavern Deep. And then the final part of our show, the movie Rex. And I had recommended a film called Old Boy, which is a Korean film that had a huge influence on me in terms of my writing, the things that I wanted to write about or how to structure a story. The original Korean film, and Spike Lee made a remake with Josh Brolin a couple of years afterward. But the original film is about a guy who's kidnapped and he's imprisoned for like 12, 15 years or something, I think. And then he's just let go. And he tries to figure out why he was captured and who captured him. And it's a really great movie, groundbreaking in a lot of ways in terms of the subject matter and how it was shot and just everything about it, really. So
I looked it up. I couldn't find it.
gotcha.
Yeah.
I think it had been at some point. It may have been on Amazon Prime or Netflix or one of those. I think it was on. I remember showing it to a friend of mine on Netflix, but this was probably a decade ago. So, but yeah, I mean, if you're into, I mean, it's not really horror, but certainly action adventure with some really disturbing moments, then it's definitely a great, I mean, it's one of my favorites of all time. So, and it really influenced the type of writing I would do later on, sort of the benchmark that I would hope to get.
Yeah. Well, I saved it. So hopefully someday it'll show up on a streaming service and I'll be able to watch it. The movie that I picked is I Am Legend. And it has a great performance from Will Smith. He pretty much carries the movie, and he has an awesome Mustang and an even more awesome dog. And it's a doctor finds a cure for cancer and inadvertently causes a pandemic, and the movie has some creatures in it and a lot of suspense, and it's kind of reminds me of like if you watch the show Walking Dead. It has kind of that dystopian feel to it. So it's one of the movies that I definitely think you should watch if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, go pick up I Am Legend. You can read the book too that it's based on. And I think for your benefit, I think the creatures screaming in the movie were recorded by Mike Patton from the band Faith No More and a few other things. I think he's the voice of some of those creatures. So
that's cool.
Yeah. So you've got some music recommendations, some movie recommendations, and that's going to wrap things up for episode number 4. But we will, of course, be back in 2 weeks to bring you more jams and more recs.
Yes, definitely. And thank you for listening. And I'll have a playlist of the music that we talked about will accompany this, and definitely check it out. There's some good stuff there.
There is. Thank you so much, Heather. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.